welcome Jo, and she can welcome our speakers properly. Thank you, Jo.
Thank you, Catherine, and welcome everybody, and welcome to Denis and Joseph, good evening. You look as if you're in a lovely sunny spot.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, good. It's great to see. Now, some members may well be familiar with Denis because Denis has attended many of our Loire tastings in the past. And it was actually on a quick visit that I was able to make last October, I think it was, that Denis introduced me to Joseph.
That's
and
great.
Actually there was an interesting link because I think I first met you, Denis, in 2005. Certainly 2004 was the first Pierre Plat vintage that we bought. And on that same trip, I visited the Prieuré de Saint-Céols, which is where Joseph is now. I looked back in my notes and I realized that it was the same visit. And as a result of that visit, I ended up buying the sublime Cuvée de Bénédictin 2002, which was a wonderful wine, absolutely wonderful wine. So it was a real coincidence that those two things came together. So in a moment, I'm going to hand over to these two and let them tell us how they came together, how they come to be sitting together in Reuilly at Denis' place under the beautiful tree in the back garden. So yeah, tonight we're tasting two wines, both of which are available currently. So it's Joseph's Red Menetou and Denis, one of Denis' Reuilly Blanc. But actually next month, we're going to have a couple more of Denis' wines and another of Joseph's wines, actually the Bénédictin Cuvée 2020 now, which are coming out in our July fine wine list. So we thought this was a good time to introduce them, to talk about these two wines, but also to give you the heads up. And if we've got time, perhaps we can touch on those other wines as well. So I'm going to hand over to you to hear a little bit about what you're about, you two, and the appellations where you work. And we'll taste the wines together shortly. So welcome.
Thank you,
Over
Jo.
to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jo. Thank you.
So I'll start. Thank you, Jo, for inviting us to this Zoom. It's our first Zoom together, Denis. So I'm quite happy about that. And we're happy because, as you said, we had a bit of a heat wave this weekend, but big rain came, and now it's very nice. So it allows us to spend a bit of time in the garden, which is nice. So yes, I'm Joseph. Nice to meet you all here. And so I'm winemaker in Saint-Céols, which is called Le Prieuré de Saint-Céols. I've not been a winemaker all my life because I changed direction 5 years ago. Actually, I was working in the luxury business before for LVMH Group and for the Louis Vuitton brand and the Berluti brand also. I was in the selling floor actually, and I was able to work in Paris, which is my born town, and I was able to go abroad in Singapore and also in London. And I'm working. This beautiful lady that you see here is my wife, which is called Marie. So the small joke is I'm Joseph, she's Marie. But my son is, I have no son, so there's no Jesus yet. But soon, maybe
He'll be coming soon.
One day, maybe. I'm hoping. And so yes, and Marie worked for Danone. So as you see, we have two selling profile. And 5 years ago, I decided to change everything. And thanks to my grandpa, who was making cognac. So cognac is a spirit that we do in the southwest of France, just above Bordeaux. I think I had wine growing in my veins, but my cousins took back the vineyard in the Cognac region. So I went I installed myself in another region where I have roots, which is the Central Loire. So now I'm working on 13 hectares in the Prieuré de Saint-Céols. 13 hectares where we grow Sauvignon and Pinot Noir. So so it's almost the same as Reuilly, but the difference is that there is Pinot Gris in Reuilly, but Denis will tell you about this. And we make wonderful wines over there that you may taste tonight and for the red. And so to talk a little bit about Maistre Salon is an appellation which is 1,000 hectares wide, but on those 1,000 hectares wide, only about 600 hectares are planted. So on the map you can see it's this is all the Loire vineyards. So you have to look at the east side on the green. So you see Saint-Céols that is very well known, and just next to Saint-Céols on the left is Maistre Salon, which is so 600 hectares of vines are planted. It's mainly Sauvignon for 70%, and for 30% is Pinot Noir. So as you know, Pinot Noir is the same varietal as the wonderful Bourgogne red, a little cheaper, but very good still. And really the Central Loire, so which is the everything which is in the green color, it's really the hometown of Sauvignon. So you have dry and tensed Sauvignon that are grown on I'm losing it on Cameroonian soil, which is limestone clay, and it's a wonderful country to work in, and maybe one day you guys will come and visit us. We hope that.
Yes, and I should say that Joseph continues, as his predecessor Pierre Jacolin did, continues to make cassis, which
yes.
I have unbelievable memories of tasting that when I visited in 2005. It was extraordinary, or in 2004. Yeah, so, and you're still making that.
Yeah, it's a nice candy. Yeah, it's a nice candy.
Absolutely.
For the aperitif, or it works also at the end of the dinner. Mm-hmm. With white wine or without. You can also put it in the fridge, and because it's very liquorous, you know, it's 20 degrees, but it's so fruity. You can also cook it, and you can have it with cream cheese or with melon. With the summer coming, it's very good. Yeah,
sounds good. Now tell me, the Centre Loire, the Loire Central Vineyards.
Yes.
I'm not 100% sure that I know why they're called the Central Vineyards, because in my mind, Tours is kind of the center of most of the Loire. Is it because they are halfway along the river, or is it because they're sort of in the center of France?
Yeah, this is because it's halfway along the river.
Okay.
Because you have other appellations which are more south, like Saint-Pourçain, les Côtes du Forez, and all this. This is also part of the Loire Valley appellations, but we don't see them on the map, okay, because but you have other appellations going down south.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're kind of central in relation to that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Fantastic. Okay.
And also maybe I think the geographical center of France is just in our region.
Mm-hmm.
And the administrative region is also called Centre Loire. You know.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh. So that must take in the different departments, because you are Cher and André Cher.
6 departments, Cher, Indre, Loire-et-Cher, Indre-et-Loire, Loiret, and Eure-et-Loire. These are the 6 departments composing what is called Centre-Loire.
Okay. Thank you. That's helpful.
You're welcome.
Okay. So have we, I think we might have missed 1 or 2 of your slides, haven't we, Joseph?
Maybe about about Mentou Salon,
And maybe the vineyards?
which is selling. So you are very lucky to have some Mentou Salon because we export a very few Mentou Salon. Actually, main of our Mentou Salon is sold in France. Actually, exporting is for people who are able to export or with for appellation who has a name that can export. But Reuilly, Denis is a perfect example that you can export very well an appellation which is not going very widely at the export. So yeah. And this is Reuilly, this is Mentou still.
Mentou.
So now, so last year we had a very difficult vintage with I think it was the smallest in France since the war. It lost 30% of the overall volume. So it hit us also. The main disease was the frost. The frost beginning of May, right? Beginning of May was very complicated.
3rd week of April.
Yes, well. 3rd week of April. There was 2 waves, 3rd week of April, and then beginning of May.
Yes.
And then we had a very crappy summer with barely no sun, and then some comment tu dis pourriture, some rot at the end. So it was very complicated. Fortunately, when after 1 year like this, the vines wants to give a bit more to his grower. So this year is we hope it's not finished. There's still 2 months to go, but it looks like very good. It's very sane. There is no illness. So we have so our work is a bit easier than when you have to fight with illness all the time. So we might have a good vintages if God is with us for the next 2 months.
That's very good to hear, because I think you both lost quite a lot of crop this year, and also not for the first time. The region has been hit quite hard in the last few years, I think.
Yeah, the last 3 years have been really bad, and we had 2 years of drought in the summer in 2019 and 2020, and 2021 was a frost year. So it's been 3 years in a row where we had a very limited harvest. So I mean, we cross fingers for this year, obviously.
Absolutely.
But we really need to have a good harvest this year, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Denis, are you ready to take over and tell us a bit about Reuilly?
Yes, definitely. Okay, so can everyone see me? Hopefully. So good evening, everybody. So my name is Denis Jamain, and I have been a grower on the Reuilly appellation for 25 years. What a long time. And it was a family vineyard, which I started to focus on in year 1998. My grandfather had been at the beginning of this vineyard, but for many years it had remained a little bit idle because it was not possible to make a decent living out of Reuilly. And just like Joseph, I had the first part of my professional life was in other activities, and I came back to this vineyard in 1998. At the time, Reuilly was a small appellation. It was only 100 hectares, so very small indeed. Compared, just to give you a comparison, it's comparing it to 3,000 hectares of Saint-Céols. So it was 30 times less important than Saint-Céols. Over these 25 years, it has increased quite a bit, but it's still a small vineyard. And right now, it covers 300 hectares. And we are 35 growers on the appellation of Reuilly. 3 grapes are planted on the appellation. Sauvignon, which covers 55% of the surface. Pinot Noir, 25%. But we also have in Reuilly a specific grape, which is a Pinot Gris, out of which we make a very small, a very delicate rosé, and this is only rosé which is 100% Pinot Gris for all the Loire Valley. It's a dry wine. As Jo mentioned it, I mean, it will be available in July at the Wine Society storage place, and it's very, very unique, very specific to the appellation, and I consider it as a real asset for the appellation to have this type of product. Okay, but as I mentioned, I mean, really Sauvignon is still the bread and butter of the appellation, and just as in Mentou, we have a great Kimmeridgian soil with limestone and seashells and fossils. Basically, the same type of soil that we have in Chablis. I mean, this is the vineyard which has the soil which is the most similar to the one we have in Reuilly, actually. So other things which are differentiating a little bit Mentou and Reuilly are the fact that in Reuilly the climate is a little bit warmer. We have an average 2 or 3 degrees higher temperature over the year than in Reuilly, and I would say 3 or 4 degrees versus Saint-Céols. So we usually harvest earlier in the year, like there is 8 to 10 days difference of timing for the harvest time. Okay, between these different appellations, you can see on the map that we are a little more south, and we are a little bit further from the mainstream of the river. So it's less humid. We have it's drier, and also the elevation is not so high as in Mentou and Saint-Céols, which is the reason. I mean, there's like 150 meters less elevation than in Saint-Céols as an average. So these are the main differences between the appellations. So as I mentioned, I've been on this vineyard for 25 years, and I started to grow organically in year 2007. I was certified in year 2011. And from there, I started to grow biodynamically, and I was certified Demeter in year 2014. We grow in Reuilly, we grow now 23 hectares, 15 hectares of Sauvignon, 14 hectares of Sauvignon, 5 of Pinot Noir, and 4 hectares of Pinot Gris. And on a normal year, our average production is close to 200,000 bottles. But for the last 3 crops, I mean, with the comments that Joseph made, I mean, since we had a very, I mean, small harvest, the production was more like 130,000 bottles for each of these years. So we, yeah, even I would say 120,000 bottles. Okay. A characteristic of vineyard in Reuilly is that we have focused very much on the export business as well, and we export 50-55% of our production, which is unusual since the average for the appellation is more like 10 or 15%. We have big markets in Northern America, US plus Canada, but also in Northern Europe, of course UK, but also Scandinavian countries, mostly Sweden, Germany, Benelux, and some more exotic places like Japan, Greece, and and such places. But it represents.
So you've been traveling a lot. I mean, I mentioned that you've been often to our tastings, but I know over the years you've traveled a lot to those places. You've put a lot of time into doing that and supporting those markets.
Yes, I for sure I dedicated quite a bit of time to that because it was, for instance, I mean, it was important to get the Reuilly known, but also to, once it was in these countries, to support it and to train the people how to present the appellation and to put ahead the characteristics of the wine. So for sure there was some effort to provide there. I mean, so that it would sell. It would sell in these countries, and that's why I was spending approximately 2 to 3 months per year on the field in these countries to support the sales of a product,
which is tough. It's hard going. So
but it was it was challenging, and it was such a great pleasure. I mean, to do that, and it was really rewarding, I would say, and that gave the opportunity to meet wonderful people. And I will, it's such a combined effort, and I'm very grateful to people like the White Society and yourself, Jo, what you did, because of course I was doing the effort, but if you had not been present, I mean, to help me to do that and to support me in all these actions in your country, I mean, we would never have achieved what we've done together. And thank you so much for all your support during all these years. That's been great. Thank you so much.
Well, the feeling is very much mutual. But I suppose I've heard, talking to winemakers about the last couple of years, I've heard a lot of people say, actually, it's been quite nice when they couldn't travel to have a bit more time at home, have a bit more time in the vineyards, make a few longer term strategic decisions about planting or not planting, or organic or not organic. It's actually given people a bit of thinking time, which I think is one of the plus points.
That's true.
There aren't too many, but that's one of the plus points.
No, but you're right. The cycle goes so quickly. I mean, we step from one year to the next, and I mean the time goes so fast. That it's sometimes very nice to be able to sit down a little bit and not to travel extensively and think about all these strategic decisions, and there are a lot of strategic decisions to make these days. I mean, with the climate changes, with I mean the trends to market the product, and all this, like what we're doing tonight. I mean, we were not considering doing that, I mean, 3 or 4 years ago, for sure.
No,
So
exactly.
that's another thing which has happened, and that's yeah.
Well, you'll be pleased to hear that we are gradually returning to in-person tastings. We will be doing
Good.
tastings again, but we're starting slowly with those. And we will continue to do these kind of events because it allows us to reach people from much further afield. Because obviously you can join online from anywhere. So
Yes,
you know,
yes,
we found that very useful to be able to do that.
Yeah, oh yes, and I always had great pleasures. I mean, to go to these wine society tastings and participate to these. I mean, usually it was in July. That's when you had these Loire Valley wines tasting, and it was always great. And I was always so impressed by the attendance and the interest of the people attending, and it was really very important for us to share this passion, I mean, with all your members.
Well, thank you for that. And it's great that you now, you know, you have that shared passion now for, well, particularly for Sauvignon and for Pinot Noir in your sister appellations, and you're now working together.
Sure.
I'm learning. You know, it's a long.
He's learning fast.
No. Good to hear. But I still need him. No, it's wine growing and winemaking is as you said, Denis is going fast for years and years. But still, you can make. Wines are only growing one times a year, so you can when you try something, you can only try once a year, and when you have small crops like we had for the past several years, you cannot try because you need your wines to keep the markets. So next year maybe we'll have a bit more wine, we can try some things. And you can try at the cellar, but you can try also at the vineyards, as you said. A question we have in front of us is planting, not planting, what to plant, what varietal, but also inside the varietal there are many, and I mean there are hundreds or thousands of Sauvignon Blanc, different Sauvignon Blanc, and the same for the 3 other grapes. So I need those kind of guys, to help me not to go in too many wrong directions. And also as Denis said, he's growing organic and biodynamic in Maistre. I started to do organic, so I'm in conversion. I've been doing that for 2 years. So the 2023 crop will be certified organic. So for all these kind of matters, Denis is giving me a lot of help and a lot of advices. What product to use to in the vineyards, what you can do, what not to do. And of course is giving me a lot of help. You can see I'm exporting only 20% of my production, and it's for us wine is a wonderful product from France, and we love to share it with you in UK, but also everywhere in the world, and Denis knows perfectly in the market, so I'm really happy to having along me to help me for all those challenges.
No, it's good to see. It's exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shall we taste some wine?
Sure.
Of course.
Sure.
It's time.
What would you like to taste first?
doesn't matter. I can start if you
Okay.
wish.
The white.
All right.
So let's start with Pierre Plate white.
Thank you. That's good.
Yeah. So we will start with this Sauvignon Pierre Plate. Oh, where should be? And there is a little fly which came in the glass since we're outside. So this cuvée is coming from a spot which is called Les Pierres Plates. And the Les Pierres Plates means the flat stones. I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can. Maybe it's not so obvious. I'm not sure you can see all these little shells, all these little fossils. But this stone that you see, and the size is like what? Yes, that's what 10 or 15 inches, 10 to 15 inches wide. Okay. And this is very heavy. It's a piece of limestone with all these little shells and fossils. And this originates from the Kimmeridgian period, because the ocean was in this part of the country in the Middle Jurassic, which is 150 million years ago. So what I hold in my hand right now is a piece of soil which has been built, 150 million years ago at the time. So this is the soil. And when you have this type of soil, you want to really, it is so mineral, you want to take the best of it. And this is why I decided to grow organic and biodynamic, because I felt sure that it was by doing so that I would be able to get all the nutrients, all the mineral nutrients coming from the soil. And through the roots and with the sap, it goes all into the plant, and ultimately you get this in the wine. Okay, so we have the Pierre Plate. The Pierre Plate is actually a piece of an area of 9 hectares, and we have 4 hectares dedicated to Sauvignon, 4 hectares dedicated to the Pinot Noir, and 1 hectare dedicated to the Pinot Gris in this area.
And so if you have all 3 of the grapes, they all enjoy the particular soil. They all benefit from the soil type.
Yes, definitely. So according where it is on the slope, you have parts of it which have a higher content of this. But yes, the 3 grapes enjoy this type of soil. In this part of the vineyard, and it's.
Are those other soils hard to work with? Do those, the rock that you just showed us, does that break easily, or is it really solid? You said it's very heavy.
No, it's this is a large piece that I've shown. Okay, usually the pieces are much smaller. Sure. And so it's there are plenty of it, but it's workable easily.
And the vines can find their way through.
Yes. Because around it you have clay, and so it's not only that. Okay. Yes. It's not only that. So what we're tasting now is the 2021 Reuilly Blanc Pierre Plate. Okay. Which has a very, how would I qualify the color? I don't know what's. It's not golden. It's it has. Um, I'm not
Very pale.
pale. Yes, pale. It's pale gold. Okay, and it's the a good thing with this. A good thing with this 2021 vintage is that the alcohol content was not so high when it was in years 2019 and 2020 when the climate had been so hot. Okay, here it is 13 12, it was 12.8. The exact alcohol percent was 12.8, which is very good for a Sauvignon. I don't like it when a Sauvignon is above 13 or 13.5 because because it to have a good freshness, to have a good balance between the acidity and the sugar, it's nice to be in with an alcohol content of 12.5 to 13%. Okay.
The aroma also.
Yes. When you have if you have too much temperature, especially at the end of a summer, the malolactic acid is predominant, and it tends to kill some of the aromas of a Sauvignon also. Okay, so I like it to be at this level of alcohol, and I think with this 2021 vintage, we have a very good balance between the alcohol content and the acidity content. The sugar was not too much, and I like that.
I remember when I first started tasting the 2021 vintage, it was such a pleasure to find that freshness, but really beautifully clean fruit and actually very expressive. The wines were a bit quieter to start with, but this has got lovely aroma. So they're not lean wines at all. They've got that lovely freshness, but without the austerity, without being too lean. So to me, it's a delicious Loire vintage. I love it.
And tell me if I'm wrong, Denis, but at the end of the summer, because there was no really summer, we were quite frightened about the how do you say the maturity that we were trying to reach. But without sun, you don't have a synthesis of sugar and a lot of aromas. And compared to previous hot vintages, we were frightened. And then in the cellar, when the alcoholic fermentation was done and the wine was kind of ready, we were very happy to see that it was really well balanced. And I mean, it was fresh, as you said, low alcohol, fresh, and back to typical Loire Valley Sauvignon.
Yeah,
and it was. So we're happy about it.
Absolutely. Because actually, with your two main grapes for both of you, Sauvignon and Pinot Noir, it's very important. I mean, it's always important, but it's very important, particularly for those two grapes, when you pick, in order to get the ripeness right, the balance right. Sauvignon can very quickly change, can't it? It can quickly take on alcohol, quickly lose acidity. So you have to know your vineyards.
The timing is very small. I mean, so when you reach the great maturity, you want to go quick because, as you said, a bit of too much sun afterwards, and then you lose all the freshness, all the acidity, and it becomes another wine. So yeah, we have every day coming to harvest time, we go and we go in the vines, and we taste, and as soon as we have what we want in our in the mouth, like the aromas, the sugar, and we really quickly start the vintage. Yeah.
And I'm also pleased with the type of mineral content that we have in the wine this year. And you know, when you grow biodynamic, it takes a while. I mean, to get the full benefits of what you've been doing for years. But with the preceding years, I mean, with these climate conditions, it was not so easy to feel the incidents. But with this 2021 vintage, I can really, I mean, sense all the benefits of this type of growing that I've been monitoring, I mean, in these past years. I'm really happy. So needless to say that this wine pairs wonderfully with seafood, with oysters, with grilled fish, but also, I mean, we pair it very nicely with a goat cheese, and you can also just enjoy it as an aperitif. You know, you don't need to eat anything with it, actually. So no, we are pretty happy about it. Yeah. Oh, j'ai perdu le son.
Sorry, I was turned off.
Okay.
No, it's. I think it's tasting really well, really well.
Thank you.
It's really opened up nicely. Perfect for the current sort of weather conditions that we have. That's for sure.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, delicious. Okay, should we move on to the Menetou?
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so what we have here is a Menetou Salon Prieuré de Saint-Céols, which is the kind of classic cuvée in Menetou Salon. We have two cuvées. We have this one, which is Prieuré de Saint-Céols in 2019, and also the cuvée Bénédictin, which is raised in oak barrels. So the classic Prieuré de Saint-Céols is raised in stainless steel tanks. So I won't talk that much about our soils, because we have basically the same soils as in Reuilly. The small difference maybe would be, as you say, Denis, the highness. So we are a bit higher because closer to Sancerre. We have small hills, so maybe less earth, less clay around the stones, and maybe maturity is going quicker here. But it's hotter in Reuilly. So, you know, there's a lot of factors that go on, but still in Reuilly, we used to we start the harvest earlier than in Menetou or in Sancerre, maybe a week earlier. So, of course, this is 100% Pinot Noir. So we harvest this wine in 2019. 2019 was one of the two hot vintages where there was barely no water at all. So it was part of the small crops, especially in Pinot Noir. And you know, when it's hot and there's no water at all, the grains of the grape of Pinot Noir, they are black. I mean, they are red, but they are very dark red. So when it's hot and the sun is burning, it's even worse for red grapes than for white grapes. And they grill. They just grill on the vine. So the crop is even smaller, and for the grapes that are not grilled, the concentration. I mean, of course, when water is not given to the vine, the water which is in the wine and in the fruit evaporates. So it gives us, of course, higher alcohol degrees alcohol. So for those 2 years, for 19 and 20, we really went out of the box comparing to usual easy drinking red Loire Valley wine. So it's, I mean, it's still easy to drink because I think it's good, but it's not light. You know, we're getting closer to a Bourgogne. So to talk about the vinification, just 2 words. I was Pierre Jacolin, who did one part of my formation. Learned me how not to use any sulfite before the end of alcoholic fermentation. So there is both on the reds and white in Prieuré Saint-Céols, there is no sulfites added before the end of fermentation, alcoholic fermentation. And for the red, we use it's called biocontrol. Biocontrol is what we use another type of comment tu dis des bactéries, des levures of yeast.
Yes.
So we put some yeast on the crop, yeast which is neutral, but they will colonize the crop, and they will enable bad yeast. They will avoid bad yeast with bad intention for the wines to develop, and so it's a very neutral way to protect the crop without adding sulfites. So it enables to lower the global sulfites used in our wines. And then we use very small concentration. You know, when we do red wines during the alcoholic fermentation, there is the I'm losing my English to, you know, when the pas la fermentation, you know, when, so the whole grape is in the juice, you know, and this is where the color, when you get the where you get the color, the maceration, sorry. So when you have very hot years with very high concentration, you do very low maceration methods, so that you still have some sweetness in your glass. So as I told you, with this very hot year, we have a 14 degrees alcohol for this Pinot Noir Ferment du Salon. And to me, when you put it at your nose, it's really an explosion of fruit. It's really a fruit juice. I mean, and you have a very ruby color, which is quite intense. And to me, I mean, to me, a good wine is when you have a good impression at the nose and also a good impression at the mouth. But when at the nose, it starts well, which is what happens to me with this wine. It's a good start, and on the palate, you also have all these fruits. So you know, the nose and the mouth are kind of correlated. You also, of course, you have some tannins, but after now 3 years, the tannins are going rounder and rounder. But with this bottle, you can put it in your cellar if you want. A nice game is if you have several bottles of it, you drink one each year, and you will really see the development and the evolution of the tannins, which will mute together and give another round, I mean, more roundness in the mouth with years and years. I hope you liked it.
We don't hear you.
Sorry. It's drinking very well. It's very smooth on the palate.
Yes,
as you say, you can feel some tannin. There's certainly concentration there. It's not a delicate, you know, but It's very approachable, very supple.
It has some
Yeah,
character.
I think it's drinking really well.
It has some character. It has some fruit. It has some aromas, and yeah, and still it's not harsh on the mouth.
No, and mine, I actually put it in the fridge for a short time because I didn't want it to be too warm. Yeah. So it's nice if it just has a nice cool. You don't want it to be chilled because then you kill the fruit.
Yes.
But just a little bit cool. It works really well.
A little bit cool, especially in summer. So if you serve it between 13 to 15 degrees, it's perfect. It's perfect. And then you can of course drink it. Drink it with red meat and any kind of aperitif, and it will go very well. Sorry, I'm not being very humble with my wine, but I like it. So.
That's important. It would be worrying if you didn't like it.
But sometimes, with some wines you say yes, I might, but with this particular one, I'm forgetting to be humble. Please forgive me.
So, Catherine, do you have some questions that you would like the guys to answer?
We do, and I think just to very quickly, Joseph, to say about you not being humble about the wine, I think that's completely warranted. We've actually had a comment from David describing it as a perfect summer red. So I think you can you can take that and run with it. But we do have some questions. So you spoke a little bit about the red being able to, might be fun to kind of keep it and let the tannins and that develop. But this is a question, Denis, for you in terms of the Reuilly, the 2021. Yes. How long would you expect sort of to be able to keep that, and what sort of development might you see with that, if any? Or is it one that you perhaps shouldn't be keeping and should actually just be drinking sooner rather than later?
I would say, thank you for the question, Catherine. We have different cuvées of white Sauvignon. Some are aged in oak, but this one is aged totally in steel tanks, and there is no oak at all. And I would say that you can keep this for 3 or 4 years. Not that it would be a bad wine after that, but it would be normal that it would lose a little bit of its freshness after 4 years, I would say. But if you have some in your cellar, you'll get rid of these before 4 years, for sure.
Yeah, it's like you can keep
unless
it,
you put a pallet in your cellar, but
especially if you have good friends.
No, that's usually the length that I would, the time span that I would recommend. Keep it. You can have it for 3 or 4 years. So until 2025, you'll be totally fine with this wine. And after that, it will still be good, but it will lose a little bit of its acidity content, and it will not be so just Pepsi, as I would say.
We've had another question from a member asking, so he's said about the growing of Sauvignon Blanc and Pinot Noir. He's asked, are they the only grapes allowed in the appellation? So you grow Pinot Gris as well. So is it just those 3, or are there any others that you are permitted to use, and would you use them and grow them?
It is just these 3. And we have to add that it's both in Mentou or in Reuilly. There is no blending. Obviously allowed with other types of grapes. So when we grow Sauvignon in our bottles, we have 100% Sauvignon. When it's Pinot Noir, it's 100% Pinot Noir, and when it's Pinot Gris, it's 100% Pinot Gris. Okay.
Okay, and the next question is about the sort of the organic and biodynamic ways that you're both sort of approaching your winemaking, but also in part the fact that there are more of those climatic hazards. So your things like your frosts and hails and rain that we're seeing more with climate change. is that something that that is causing more of a problem to you to be able to grow the grapes organically and do those biodynamic practices? And if so, what sort of things are you doing to counteract that? Or is it just a case of sort of having to chalk it up to having lower yields some years if the climate doesn't work in your favor?
Well, it's always a challenge. Each year is a challenge. And growing organically and biodynamically is more of a challenge than if you don't do it, especially in our area. I mean, it's, when people grow organically in the southern part of France, I will not say it's simple, but it's much simpler because the climate conditions are easier to deal with. Okay. In our central France, it's from one year to the next, we can have such different climate conditions. Like in years 2019, 2020, which were very dry years, it was not so complicated to grow organically and biodynamically because there was very low mildew pressure. But in year 2021, that was a big challenge because as soon as you have 1 inch of rain, I mean, you have to go to the vineyard, and spray just the things that you're able to spray, which are just, based on mostly plants, and so it's very challenging. I mean. And of course, it's more risky, but obviously it's worth a try. And I've never regretted to have made this decision to do this.
And Denis, may I ask a supplementary question?
Please.
So now you've been certified organic for now over 10 years.
Yes.
Have you seen the vines? So with those vintage variations that you talk about, and the fact that even today with climate change, the Loire is still quite a long way north, and the conditions are challenging for organic or biodynamic viticulture. But have you seen over that time that the vine copes better with those extremes? I've heard it suggested that over time the vine becomes more robust, I suppose, and can handle the high temperatures or the extreme rain or whatever it is. Can you see that, or is it still too early?
No, I can already see that. I mean, I can see that there is definitely an adjustment to the conditions. Okay, when you grow organically and biodynamically, basically you kind of force the plant to use its natural defenses against all the outside factors. So at the beginning, it's a major challenge for the plant, and it does not always succeed. I mean, to fight, all these diseases like me. But the more you go, and the more the plant is able to cope with all these attacks from the outside, definitely, because it grows more. It grows more resistance, inner resistance to deal with this outside environment.
Yeah, so resilience. Perhaps.
Yeah, resilient. Yeah. Resilient is the word. Yes, definitely so. But that doesn't mean that it suppresses all the risks, obviously.
No,
but,
absolutely not. No.
But for sure, I've noticed that. Yeah, it's cumulative. Over the years, it is a cumulative effect. Definitely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's covered off all the questions that we've had in. So thank you very much both. And thank you, Jo, for joining us this evening. Jo, I'll leave you to do a bit of a sign off just before we end. But members, thank you very much for joining. And as Jo said, we are back with doing some in-person events as well as continuing with these online ones. So do take a look at the website and see what we've got coming up, because we'd love to see you at another event soon, whether that's in person or online. Thanks very much for your time this evening, Joseph and Denis. It's been lovely
Thank
to have
you.
you.
It was a great pleasure. Great pleasure to be sharing this moment with all of you. Okay, thank you, and have a nice summer.
Thank you too.
Thank you. And just to finish, we wish you a really good next couple of months. We know how important it is this year. So fingers crossed for a good summer.
Thank
for
you,
your
Jo.
2 appellations. And
You too, no, Jo, no?
yes, and I'm hoping to see you, one or both of you next week would be fantastic.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Have a
Bye.
great summer. And yes, members, do look out for the fine wine list that comes out. We brought it forward from August to July. So I think it's out in the middle of next month for some more lovely wines from these 2 guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. I've got 2.
Okay.
2.
Have a nice evening. Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you again.
Bye. Bye. Thank you. Bye. Bye.